Hello, friends and enemies of YouTube, the Axis, coming at you in what would be considered the middle of the night for me, but no better time than the present. The panel is going to be open later on. I have a guest that's come to speak with me on a topic of energy and how how it interacts with you and how you influence and how that energy will act accordingly. So while I wait for the almost friend and oh brother, that's fine, Chris, man. Don't worry about that. That's cool, man. Cool. It's just good to hear from you. Really good to hear from you, man. I hope things are going okay. You know, I'm always on the other end, brother. But anyhow, while I wait for my guest to arrive, another another tune I wouldn't mind playing. Um, Better yet, I think I can wait. Hello, Dominique.
Hey, Axis, how you doing today?
Um, well, I suppose that's just it. It's the middle of the day for most people, and for me, it's kind of the middle of the night. So I'm kind of experiencing some new unfamiliar energies around me.
Well, thank you
You,
for making an exception to your normal patterns.
um, I haven't been sleeping well because of this. The only thing I can contribute it to is this incoming energy from this the comet, the eclipse, and the alignments, and there's a lot of really profound things that are going to transpire all in one big bang, and really been feeling that a lot lately, and I think it's taken its toll on my sleep. It's like kind of almost like having a 9-volt battery plugged in. You get to sleep for a couple minutes, and then boom, you're right back up, and the rest is not to be found. How has it been treating you?
Um, Sleep the same with me. I've been affected by the whatever's going on. I think it was told a while back. It was a couple of the flares coming from the sun, but you know, this April 8th thing, whatever's going to occur, or as I'm thinking it's occurring already, it'll just come to some sort of point. Yeah, it's been affecting me in certain ways, and one of them is my sleep. Bloat. I'm feeling a little bit more bloated. Um,
Well, I have noticed, Dom, even with my own energies, I've noticed that other people's energies that I've been observing, um, it's been I don't even know if they're aware of it or not, but it's been showing a change. Um, some of them almost in an aggressive way. They seem a lot less patient and friendly, as if that was a thing that we ran into much, but there seems to be a lot less of it. And then there's others that I've noticed are clinging on in tight little groups almost. So, and even the, I don't know, just the all around atmosphere is, you can feel that tug and that pull and that energy. So, the other night I was sitting here with some of my, personal demons, and I wanted to, make sure that everybody out there was on the same playing field that I was. So I did the, live stream on summoning demons and, energies with, egos and personifications. Did you get to catch all that?
I did actually. You tapped in on sigils and even how to summon, I guess, to a certain point, angels. What came to mind for me was, is that what people are doing when they're sending energy, like when they're doing Reiki and all that? Some people are talking about like archangels of some sort.
Yeah, I believe that there is both ends of the spectrum and everything in between. When you get to, more primal type energy, I think that's what people kind of contribute to being, dark or evil, or, but to me, it's just, it's a primal. It's, it's like I said in the live stream, on that video, is they're not, they don't recognize character whatsoever. They have their own agenda, and I think that's as well as with angels, um, all the way to the other end of the spectrum, and that energy may be a lot less malevolent, but there's a lot more discipline, uh, or structure, um, in what I would consider to be angels or heavenly realms, as opposed to, more your chaotic and primal type energies. I tried to give the best 101 I could, but I know I don't always have the common insight to cover all grounds and all the bases, but I know that you're around it quite a bit, and I was kind of curious as to, what your take was on my approach. Was it, did I leave anything out? Should I put something in? Is there, do you have questions?
Oh yeah, I have questions. Don't worry about that. I have questions. um, Sounds like, and elaborate if I'm going with this or going sideways on this. It sounds like demons do not are concerned about playing with people's behaviors or personalities.
No,
No.
no.
Okay. So from what I understand, this is where they bring in the word daemons. Daemons are the ones that play with behaviors and personalities.
Ones that, are more structured and that recognize, you as an individual or as a persona, are kind of in a different classification, which is something I probably should have covered. Uh,
Hmm.
Classification where people, there are intellectual, believe it or not, there are intellectual and character oriented energies or demons, and that's where you come up with the concepts and the ideals of a structured type of, opposing force or adversary. And even more so when you start to get with angels. But then when you start covering demons and angels on the aspect of them judging you or your intent with character, then you get on a whole nother aspect of how does your character affect them, and interacting with them, are you of character enough to be able to do that?
So knowing that a lot of people, whether they're aware of it or not, think who they are their personas and their behaviors, their programs. So demons really aren't interested in that. Part and parcel because it'll be like a child playing with an adult. I'm just using my analogies on this because I get it when somebody says I'm this person, I'm that person. How can you work with that? That's just a persona.
Right.
So so someone has to probably inquire who they truly are, or at least delete all the things, or at least become aware of all the things that they're not, before they can actually summon up or work with something like a demon at this point.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's classifications. I hate to call it levels,
Hmm.
but you have, even when you start dealing with high um, photonic and light driven entities, you know, that's a structured, disciplined energy. And if you're a chaotic energy and you have a tendency to do bad things, and whether you're aware of them, whether you hide them, whether you keep them closeted, those type of entities that bear that much discipline and light can be just as dangerous to you if you aren't as disciplined as a demon with an agenda could be towards somebody that has some moral code about, well, I want this demon to do this particular thing, but heaven forbid he go about it this way, because that right there might have, I'm not cool with that, but I do want this job done, but I don't want that demon acting this way. And you're not going to, it's not how it works. Is that there is no, when you're working with your energy and binding it with another energy, you got to take what you are in your discipline and apply that to the equation.
So can demons, besides being summons up, can somebody out of being clever, being stupid, can they actually do something to disturb a demon that it will, teach it a lesson, teach somebody a lesson, whether they believe in that stuff or not?
Yeah, that's the thing is people, it's like the wind. You don't see the wind, but you can feel it. It has its effect. Although not visible, the wind is definitely capable of being observed by environment. Things blowing around, leaves, sometimes roofs just fly off the houses. And that's kind of the thing that you got to take into consideration when you're punishing or you're wanting somebody punished is you you've got to be one as karmatically clean as the person that you're attempting to punish, and you have to be true to at least enough of yourself to know that you're dealing with a completely different set of laws and energies. They don't adhere to earthly um, policies. We'll call it policies. And when you start dealing with all these different types of energies, there's the old earth energies, which are more elemental in nature. Um, those are more of your tree spirits or tree energy. Um, the earth energy from the grass. Water sprites and energy, and then you have the what I would be considering as like the damned or the unrestless, unquiet dead. Uh, they tend to fall in a completely different category. A lot less. Um, you can wield them a lot less than some of the other ones. And then you have a particular archetype that comes in all anything with an ego is going to want to set itself uh, in front and posturing position, and that's another type of energy that you can run into with the demon. Is the very structured, very methodical, um, objective oriented demons, and they will test you. They're going to test your resolve, and it's no different with angels. You've probably got, well, you had observer angels, and then you had angels that interacted with man, and then you had angels that held heavenly counsel. you know uh, Different degrees and structures of energies, uh, dealing with demons and angels. But even the term demons and angels gives it a bad stereotype and a bad reference point. Kind of uh, kind of reflects to the ideal of Christianity, but it's not about a Christian devil. And especially what I've discovered here lately, um, I don't think it's about a Christian God either. I think it's about a natural part of the creation. And I have a heavy take on what I think the purpose, or why I think that would even be introduced into a plane of existence where people, humans, human beings, would be affected by something that, unless they had the skill and the understanding, couldn't ward off. So I suppose that's a part of the reason they were used as, whether it be African tribes using evil spirits and spirits of voodoo, or you go to some of the more pagan, witchcraft, and they all have, and even the church and the mysticism within the church and the Hebrew sage, they all have this particular point where they try and use these energies to frighten you. But as you and I know, this is a solo endeavor, and you're either going to create or destroy yourself by your own intent, your own will. It's just how you interact with if you're going to play with energies like that, it's how you interact with them. They're not, they don't think like we do, nor do angels that I've encountered. They're just as righteously dutiful in carrying out something just as horrible as what you think a demon would carry out. And which resorts back down to your own arrogance, the reason you're even summoning something in the first place, understanding your energy, and trying to, if you don't know your own energy, and if you don't have an understanding of energy fields and binding of the two, you're headed on a one-way path of self-destruction.
I find it interesting the word demon, D, and angel, A, direct currency opposed to alternating currency. Um,
Yeah.
because a lot of people aren't, they're going to hear the word, but they're not really going to understand it with all sincerity. Energy. Which one, whether it's demons or angels, deal with the material opposed to spiritual? Can I assume that demons are the ones that used to have experienced the material existence and they're here to assist in the material magic, I guess, at this point?
They, from what I've dealt with, have always served a purpose for me. Um, what their long-term agenda is is probably a continual endeavor for them, and whether that long-term endeavor requires, them being summoned into this realm by folly or, by intent, just to experience it, to interact with it. I'm sure that, we're dealing with some energies and entities of that nature too. But where we got to be careful is the Christian church took some real liberties in using names like angels and demons, Satan, God, evil spirits, and they really weakened and put such a damper on something that can absolutely affect your life just as much as a car wreck. And when I done the video the other night, I debated it for a couple before I decided to let that out there, because you as well as I know that there's going to be some idiot, and they're going to probably salt the circle and try and summon the biggest, most powerful demon they can. And they probably got, the mentality of an 8-year-old, which the 8-year-old would probably stand a better chance than an 18-year-old. But I didn't want people to, I didn't want people to misconstrue the point I was making with it. That's why I emphasized in there that, this can be done, and I've done it, throughout the biggest part of my life. And Christians do it every day. They, especially the Roman Catholic Church, with each of their saints, Saint Michael, they even use angels, Gabriel, and they're calling upon these entities to come in and apply themselves to something. Maybe you've got somebody sick and you're wanting them watched over. But whenever you're doing that and you're reaching out to, which I have later on, I'd like to describe it to you, of a clear understanding of what I perceive some of the essence of the great architect to be. But you've got to take into consideration, who you are, what energies are you bearing, and if I'm calling something as glorious as the way they put Gabriel to be, you got to remember this angel Gabriel slaughters, kills, goes to war, and to feel that you are pure enough to summon and interact with an angel of that moral caliber without it turning on you, or that type of energy, um, because of your own bad behavior, you're mistaken. And that's the same with a demon, um, no matter whether it's a early primal elemental type spirit, all the way to a structured, um, purposeful, and organized malevolent, it's going to smell the same blood. So when you approach these things, you've got to really keep in mind of not only how they're the acceptance of them by the church, the interpretation of what the church did to the name demon, angel, such force, spirit, and what it actually is and how it applies to you. That's why I said you got to consecrate ground. You can't call in something that does not recognize um, the character and expect it to respect you as a character because it's not. And I don't even believe angels. Um, if you're talking a great heavenly spirit, I don't think that I don't think they're recognizers of character. I think that they would just be as apt to kill you as you know. You might be able to get away better with dealing with malevolent force than with something that has such a righteousness to it that your blemishes and your shortcomings could give it room to slay and destroy you. I'm sorry, I went long-winded on that, Dom. I just really trying to emphasize that point.
So who would be the ones that wreck it at the church? Would it be other demons or would it be men again?
The demon in a church, as much as men, humans, would like to think that they're just like on YouTube. You hear it in the chats and in the panels. I'm a demon slayer. I'm a demon fighter. Um, uh, demons better not fuck with me. I'll pick Satan up and beat his ass. Well, when you've encountered an actual entity of substantial caliber, unless you're standing in righteousness and totality, uh, you stand just as much chance of being a victim as the church is with its iniquities. There's a lot of theatrics done in the church because without the devil and the demons, what opposition does the church truly have?
I'm just trying to separate. For me, I already know it's men. It's not demons. Demons are here to serve.
Right.
So you call in a demon. Demon might have a long-term agenda or understand how long about way it'll serve, but it's usually men, whether they're deceitful or forming some institution. Now there is fallen ones. That's what could be maybe what some people might call demons. So who's the one that's calling them up? This goes back to we're going to lose most people here at this point. Most people are going to be caught up in their personalities or their behaviors. But the ones that truly know who they are they asking for fellow assistance from other energies? Because we are energy. This is why when I hear people say, "Oh, I'm going to fight Satan," now they're waste of fucking
Yeah.
energy at that point. They're already caught up in their personality. That's all talk. That'll be like talking to a hurricane. Okay, you want to see your energy, realize your energy is going to be consumed with that energy, and then you'll be a part of that energy. So knowing that, who are these type of people that are calling up demons, and for what intent, what purpose? Like, I get it, somebody's hurt us, but yet what did they hurt? Was it our personalities, our little feelings, the way we look? Because am I to assume demons look like us in this case, in the form that we're in? I would hope not.
No, they don't come across as hideous troll-like beasts either.
Again,
Um,
that's the imagination, and
yeah,
that
that's
could be
human.
manipulated. Yeah, because there are spiritual wars that go on there. So do demons get frustrated too and say, "Well, I'll just bend then towards the human race's stupidity"? Like, is one aware? Is the known aware of the unknown? Is the unknown aware of the known? Is one ignorant, and does one ignore? I lean towards the people in the known, the physical realm, are ignorant of the unknown. And the unknown, more times than not, ignores the known unless they see a few, could be millions, that have done the work. They're willing to embody that energy. They become aware of that energy. For most people, this is entertainment. This is pulling a rabbit out of a hat. I think it's usually the older people that are more fucked up than the children are. The children, if you get the right one, you can teach them magic. You can teach them how to work with energy. It's usually the ones that when they've been despaired. I want my life. Is it possible you can give me lottery numbers? Can you make sure my neighbor's car gets scratched? Those are low lives. Regardless of how people think about it, if they've had those thoughts, in those moments, you're a low life. You're a lower life. Life has many levels to it. So now, knowing that, to summon something up, I've heard you talk about sigil. That's a craft. I'm
Yeah.
not saying I know the craft. I understand things. Doesn't mean I practice it. So when you do that, or people play with Reiki, or wanting energy through a crystal, these are all energy transform. That's kind of like somebody harnessing the energy and being able to look through a bear's eye. So again, there could be thousands of people watching this, and I would say 950 of them, please leave. The other 50, let's test it. And I wouldn't be one of the few remaining ones either. So you're in good company. I'll be leaving with you before then. So again, from what I've heard you've done, Axis, you've done a lot of effort and a lot of work. I appreciate it when I've heard you talk about it. I didn't expect a lot of people to ask you questions when I actually heard it the day after or that morning after, because they don't even know what they're going to ask. It sounds good, feels good, it's better than the physical. Well, how do we not know that the unknown is fueling the physical? And for what intent? I mean? If we're locked up here, then we might as well at least make it somewhat comfortable. If energy is doing what it is, we've have tons of energy here. Could be demon origin, or where Wi-Fi could be from them, whoever they may be. I guess I get it. It's when we start thinking it looks like a certain character. It's Baal, it's Baal, it's Jehovah, it's Allah. Okay, whatever. If it could be, I can't denounce it. It could be. This is when a person really has to entertain. And for me, I'm that kind of person. Ideals. Where other people, I want an answer. Okay, so you're going to bypass all the effort it takes to get to this, let alone hold that energy. And you just want it done. That's a selfish human being. At that point, the best they could do is be honest with himself and not having a gun in the back of their head, but be honest with himself. So then you can move aside. Maybe you could take a lower class. So knowing that, I went on my long-winded conversation. Who's the one that's summoning up the demon? To break it down to words, like, is it the soul? Is it the spirit? Is it the essence of us?
With some, it's emotion. Some, it's ego. Some, it's power. And then you have the person who utilizes it as a tool. That's the unbiased summoner, the one that understands that his ego is not attached. Okay, this energy was here before our energies, and when you look at the architecture that was put in to building this place, and I'm going to say building this place. And I'm not talking houses. I'm talking, the ground we stand on, the trees around us, um, the bushes, grass, all the persistent and the constant was brought into creation. Now that you're in this state that you've been created, you've been given this sensory suit, and from whatever source our observation comes from that allows us to feel like we exist, or that we're alive or conscious, which I have problems with that now too. You got to think that these were energies that were created, before us, and some of them are energies that came afterwards. And you got to understand that there's so many things that were designed and put in this plane of existence that are beyond our scope of comprehension and even sensory perception. We're not going to be able to feel it or see it. You know, we'll feel it. I can't say not feel it because sometimes it's overwhelming. Um, sometimes it's very, very overwhelming. But the core source of who your identity is, and not the mask. Um, there's almost a undercurrent within that little light that's inside of you. When people say, "My little light inside," what is whatever. There's kind of a truth to that, Dom. We somehow, after being created by this great architect and given this architecture to dwell among, somehow allowed us to feel like we are aware and conscious. Most people attribute it to being inside the body. I beg to differ with that now, too. I think that just like with quantum entanglement, you're capable of riding the beast, the body, or the machine, utilizing your recreational vehicle. And if you want something done, let's say you got a slow driver in front of you and you summons because you don't want to drive slow in your recreational vehicle, something to intervene. Um, that would be called from probably a source of anger and ego, rage. It would have its purpose and it would want its just due after or if it carried out whatever you intended for it to do. But I think that if it could get to the core, the source of your being, that which is unbiased, that which does not sway by whim or will, and I don't think it's quite as localized as people generally think. And the only reason I say that is because I'm watching us mock what we consider to be the God, or gods, or whatever the architects were. I think they got their own agenda going, and how it interferes and serves us. I'm really not too sure, because I'm not much into the ideal of you know petitioning a prayer to the great architect, and just because of you know my wonderful being and my servitude towards this architect, in church every Sunday is going to be enough to tantalize something as beyond comprehension that can create with an environment like this. No, it's not. You know, no matter whether God likes you or not. I think there's something more at play. And when you interfere with the gods, you've got to expect to be stepped on by the gods. So if you're calling a demon for ego or for will from your source of being, not from your anger, because if you call it from your anger, that's what you're going to get back. And if you give it tribute and you pay the demon, you better hope that that's satisfactory. And after that, the bond needs to be removed. But you can't expect a demon to act any other way than a demon, and a human not knowing themselves from whence they come, but only realize that they're seem to be a conscious being, some type of living entity. You utilize these forces and with a neutrality. It's almost like a mirrored effect. To get true effect from a demon, you cannot, unless you give it proper tribute, approach it with anything less than a 100% true you. Demon can see through lies. Angel can see through lies. They probably know more about the core of where our being is than even we do. I would say they've been here longer. I would say that anybody that endeavors to work with demons, be very strict-mindedly aware of their own sense of being, because you're dealing with things that are indifferent to our struggle. And petitioning with prayer is basically like throwing quarters into a slot machine and praying each time that you pull that handle that you're going to get some type of reward. It don't work that way. Never has worked that way. But on the short, Dom, no, it's usually ego from the center of someone's personality and not their center of being that summons this demons to do things. But you learn that after you've done it long enough, you learn not to folly in such a manner that you apply ego. Now you can apply intent, but you got to consider, man, what you're working with. It's just as fickle as the universe.
Well, the concept of edging God out, ego, it only makes sense if we're going to use sense or reason that the ones that, whether they've fallen or not, they rather rule than serve.
Yes.
And it's still serve because angels serving a lesser species, which would be human race, regardless of same with demons, they're serving a lesser species. Hence, sure, they can see through lies. They understand the playbook. So the gods, whoever they may be, source or whatever, I've always entertained the idea of that. Whatever's created all of this, and not just on the physical level, probably doesn't actually interfere. If you follow, if there's things to be followed, you serve. You serve the whole without even understanding that you see the whole. Uh, some people, like even on the earthly plane, people will be disobedient to a system, even though you'll explain the parts to them. And then there's other people, they understand the system, but they'll still play against it. That's just what they do. They're not concerned about other people, so it only would resonate with me that demons probably don't care about other demons. Only when they're being attacked, then they'll attack. So again, it's one of those things where a person has to know who they are, and then what do they want to do? Do they want to serve? Do they want to control? Do they want to manipulate? There's many ways. You know, I don't put much value on certain dogmas. Those are just to keep the human race from not totally being destructive, whether it's religion or state or science.
Right.
So it's one of those things. Again, it's if a person needs to call a demon, what's their intent? The practice itself or the craft is admirable to learn a craft, regardless of what you can use for. It's like learning how to build a bomb. I can give kudos to the person that they can create something like that, but what the intent is, or the next generation, what they do with it, that's on them. So if a person chooses to call, down angels or up angels, or just to come into the known, that's fine. Same with demons. But for most people, I'm glad they're not totally aware of those things. They have the lesser part to worry about, which is how they think, how they feel, how they reason things. Pointing at somebody else, how would that serve? Sounds like there's already a division between the angels and the demons anyway. But it's not because they need to fight each other anymore. No, it's serving humanity. Again, it's probably just a few. There's probably like you might know, there might be different tiers of demons. Same with angels. Do we come back into these forms from a previous lifespan? Maybe. We attracted to certain types of creatures, like cats or dogs. Could that reveal where we were in a previous time? Are these animals here to serve us? Are we here to serve them? I get it.
I,
Go ahead, Access. Go ahead.
See, I have such a different take on my perception of things in these last few days, only because of design. Now, bear with me if you would for a minute, Dom, and I'll try and I'll keep this as clean cut as I can. But when you're dealing with things of this scale and things of this nature, just a few tossed out sentences and comments doesn't necessarily cover the whole scope and scale of how this all integrates within itself. When I woke up, like today, and I looked around and even at my own body, and I took on the ideal that I was created and everything here was created. Now, the original creation is what man uses to create with. So there's kind of a simulation going on between a fractal nature, God trying to be man, trying to be God, trying to be man. And it's just a continual cycle. But the ideal and the concept of just being conscious should just be overwhelming to an individual. And the fact that something had the capacity to create all this architecture. I'm not talking to buildings, I'm talking to trees, The sky, the oceans, the whole fucking 9 yards. That should absolutely leave you in a state of contemplation for the rest of your fucking life. To think that this was created. And then we mimic it as humans. We mimic and we take parts of the creation and we create our little thing. But those are, to the grand design, obsolete to the essence of our objective and directive. Um, Knowing what I know about spirits and dealing with them the way that I have, and a new, fresh look uh, on the great architect not being a servant that's going to, because of your whims and wills, bend to your desire or fulfill your desire. And my understanding of what I've done with summoning energies and manifesting various types of, some of them less benevolent than others, but I was caught up in the when I first started out, I was caught up in a lot of the will and the ego, and I applied that because I didn't know any better, and I'd always get burnt, always get my ass, even with candle magic, I'd get my ass burnt every time. There would be something residual happening back at me, and then I understood what tribute or sacrifice is, and when I learned that, I learned that you could bargain, you can negotiate with certain energies. Now, I'm not saying bargain with God, but if you read that book of his, um, it would seem that you can bargain with the Christian or the Israeli uh, singular God, the Orthodox God, and many of these other gods that they were given tributes to, and sacrifices. They were they weren't they weren't observing the grand scale of things. Yeah, you can sacrifice to it and you can offer it up, whatever, but it's still by nature what it is. The same as God is by nature what now I see him as, and that's an architect, an artist almost. Um, Only
Actually,
because this. Go ahead.
just one quick continue. Just one quick moment. Charles just asked if he can come up, so just want to mention that to you.
Yeah, yeah. Just let me finish this out here,
Go
Dom.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Um, the ideal is when you look at the intelligent design of the human body and how it houses, as best that we can describe or have come to know to be, an observable consciousness, and to know that there are things beyond that spectrum that can be interacted with, means that everything is bound together and tied with a really nice little bow. And it's like being in a ring with a contender. You're going to have to fight because of the nature of the way things were created. Just because you pray to whatever deity or you sacrifice 20 kids or horses or whatever to this deity, like they did in the old days, um, doesn't mean that that deity is going to favor not wiping you out with a torrential rain or a mudslide. And that's what I've come to really understand that in a more profound way since I started looking at how I create, how humans create, how humans interact with each other, how they're affected by the creation, and how they avoid going on the inward concept of finding peace, heaven, or whatever it is they choose, and the eternal struggle of dealing with the material and satisfying the self and using intermediates such as angels, demons, and God. The full equation of that is just, it's immense, Dom. It's so immense that it's for me, it's hard to get my head around it. Now, before I bring him up here, Dom, are you cool with Charles coming up here?
I'm okay. I'm okay with it.
Because if
Yeah,
he's
go ahead.
not, I'd rather carry on with this because I don't care. You know, at this point, if people were to take, which I'm going to deliver more. I'm not going to stop with just the summoning of demons. I'm going to let a lot more out. And knowing that you work and fill with energy, I work and fill with energy, and we understand that energy is the source behind, and intent is the vibration and the frequency that allows that energy to be a directional source of will. Um, and if they use it, that's, it could be the last time they ever use it, or they may become proficient at it. But I put it out there as equal playing ground for themselves. Everybody talks about their mad game of standing up to demons and casting demons out and all these profound things that they say. You know it's they don't have a damn clue, Dom, of the enormity and the immenseness of these entities, and just the concept of being created is what's really, I guess, driving me to put it all out there. There was a time where I never would have put such a video out, but I will now. And I'll put more videos out, you know, something with candles and magic and utilizing energy for that. And that's only because I don't think that God is and the devil or whatever, positive, negative. It's so hard to communicate when your words are limited to things that associate themselves with religion and indoctrination. And it's such a struggle for me right now just to be able to wrap my head around the whole concept of it all working in unison. flawlessly in unison. But anyhow, Dom, you've got me my head somewhere else. I'm really really trying to struggle with getting this point across. But
Well, a common theme with demons and angels when it comes to humans is they want them to do something for them. So now,
well,
once
let's.
you go ahead,
Oh no, that you're fine, Dom.
once a person realizes it's not about doing, now you can understand a little bit about the gods. They don't have to interfere, you know. But if your person wants to learn to serve, then you can serve. But again, that's the common theme with a lot of people. They want something, then you have to have tribute. You know, again, to serve is a good thing, but to observe, do you need to serve? Again, this is where people get caught up, which is fine. That's why we're here to learn. You know, share awareness if you want, if people want to. You know, again, it's all about doing something. What do you want to do? What can you do for me today, Mr. Demon? What can you do for me, Mr. Angels? Can you save my child that's in the hospital? Well, your son wanted to drive like a little demon, and now you want to be saved. Okay, you know, serve
Yeah,
without judgment. Without judgment. You know, again, that'll tell somebody from within. You know, language is never going to do justice to it.
no,
You know, but again, we'll try. We'll try to share with each other information. You know, and then people are going to put their own judgment on it. I don't like it. Okay, I agree with you. There's another judgment. I disagree with you. Okay, so you're doing the other end of it now. Suppose it is going inwards, and once you go inwards, you know. But the thing is, when somebody else has to tell you to go inwards, it's not genuine. You'll know when
right.
you choose to go inwards because something just tells you, okay, did you go inward willingly or did you exhaust everything outside and now you want to go inwards? Either way, it'll serve. For who? That's for
Bingo.
them. Yeah, that's for each their own. You know, I get it. We can use all kinds of word salad to describe things. You know, there's many religions. I think even that's a waste of energy personally, but that's me. You know, talking about whether or not I was in Scientology or the Jehovah Witness or the Mormons or the Quran. Like it can go on. Sorry, it's not the Quran. It's a book, and even that, you needed a dumb entity, not sorry, a dumb being. In this case, Muhammad. So Gabriel can channel through them. For what purpose? Humanity wants more noise. Let's give it to them. You know, what's noise? Oh, you're self-absorbed. There's your noise. Um, they're not
That's
actually. Go ahead.
that's what I'm trying to, I guess, get across is these these entities and these energies, they're take it or leave it with the human, you know. And when you call one into service, then you're embodying that energy. But they're they're stifling my speech. Yeah, Dom, they're indifferent about humans, and I think that on a grand scale, so are the greater deities and um, a god, be gods, petitioning them for your will, petitioning them to do something for you, just doesn't seem to fall into the equation of a perfectly operating uh, construct. I mean, you're telling me that he built this earth, he set the lights in the sky, he put the seasons in motion, he separated light, he created humans, and we just do everything in the world to aggravate and piss this guy off till, he has to intervene with his son because I don't guess there was enough fucking blood to be shed on the face of the earth to make that God happy. So he has us whack his son, which is an aspect of himself, and still you're left with that feeling of I think it's a lot indoctrinated by the church, a feeling of unworthiness. And then you have those that are overly self-righteous. But you expect this God to work for you. What if this God don't like you? What if the demon don't like you? What if the angel sees your iniquity and slays you? Which tells me they got it all wrong. And that could take 20 live streams to explain that, Dom. Because there's so many different religions, so many different variations. But it's easier to pull in the spectrum of energies that you're going to be dealing with, whether it be on one side of the scale or the other, than it is to name each individual's ideal and approach to their belief system, indoctrination, and sometimes even what they've been experienced or subjected to. There's an indifference there in a perfectly working construct that has everything set into motion. You have to ask, pray, humble yourself, fall down on your knees, and brush your hair against the dirt, clean somebody's feet with your bangs before you can get something done. I don't buy that, man. I don't buy that at all, and I think that they are there to be used, but not in the way that people intend on using them. You think a demon cares about a wristwatch that you may want? When you look at the nature of it, what would that demon truly want? What does that demon want that you have to offer? Because in reality, you have shit to offer in materialism to a demon or an angel or God. He owns it all, apparently. What do you have to offer?
Well, if we're going to play with the story of demons and angels, and I'll pick one particular scenario, that one's here to serve humanity, the other one is trying to serve in a different way, where if a demon is rebelled, what they would want from a human is not obedience. That's a dime a dozen for them. They would want
Yeah,
disobedience. They want you to be disobedient, but you still got to learn your craft. But we want disobedience. This is why a lot of Satanists, they don't know. If anything else, honoring a Satan themselves would be a contradiction. Let's say if supposedly, based on the story, Satan rebelled. So therefore, you would have to even rebel against who you call your master. Again, I'm playing with that, because people can play with the idea of angels, angles. They could probably be putting you into angles, in your choices. But if there is an ultimate creator, which I go by, whatever set everything in motion, the lights, the water, the air, that's beyond the human capacity. And there's a good chance it's even beyond the angels and the demons' capacity. They can manipulate it, but they didn't create it. I really use my words in my awareness based on a dumbed down language. creation and formation and manipulation is a little bit different for each one. We can manipulate this environment, but we can't create it. So knowing that, then other beings, entities, if they're coming from somewhere else, whether they're known, unknown, we're at a disadvantage to them. So it would be easier for us to serve them than for them to serve us. Because, if I was an advanced being and I expect you guys for me to serve you, I would have to go through hoops all the time. Now here's that guy. He's asleep again. That he's emotionally fed up, or that guy can only live 70 years. There's another limitation.
Yeah.
But I get it from a me attitude. Yeah, it still takes a little bit of effort to learn a craft so you can become good at it. We do that even on the physical level. Most people that work at a job aren't really going out of their way to understand how to manipulate the stuff they're using, let alone the humans they're with. They're just at a job. You'll hear it out of their mouth. It's just a job. What business is it of yours? Also, everything's I said about economics. So for me, Access, it's not about religion. It's not even about state. It's not even about science. It's about commerce. Give me tribute. What ideal can you sell me, and we'll call it religion? There's commerce. Can we convince them we did or didn't go to the moon? Commerce. What else can we convince them of? You have one heart. Okay, what happened if we have two hearts? Does it matter? We can sell almost any ideal to each other. And if we're not selling it, we can convince each other. And this is where people that go to church or synagogues or mosque, whatever they want to call it, it's the presence of each other. They're not actually start questioning, like a child. Like, okay, so if they value this ultimate God, why are we inside of this building? Who created you, Mom? Well, I came from my mom's womb. Okay, but who created the first one? I don't know. Okay, so then that ends. I can't defend it, let alone attack it at that point. But that's what people do. They settle. I got to argue about somebody else's opinion. How does that serve? I use the word serve. Go ahead, Axis.
No, I was just agreeing with it. It doesn't serve.
It could. It can. No, it does serve. I put it out there very vague. It does serve. It's just a person, are they willing to be honest with themselves? When it's like when somebody says to me or to somebody else, I don't care. Well, then why are you making fun of that person? Well, what do you mean? I said, making fun of the other person keeps it alive, that you must care about them. If you're indifferent or you ignore them, you wouldn't be saying anything to that person. So how does that serve them to make fun of another person? How does it serve them if they're complimenting that person? Got to take the sweet with the sour. Got to keep them both in the same room at any given moment. But for a lot of people, they'll go months, weeks, years without ever addressing what they call negative, let alone what some might even call positive. Now, that's this energy I'm playing with. But again, I'm just using words to describe more words.
That seems to be the thing. It's a compilation and conjunction of so many different layers all at once. And to be able to speak and not be able to speak in dimensions puts you in such a limited state of communication with this. Because if I was truly to be honest and not hold in regard other people's feelings, and I wanted to be just an outright bastard, then I would expand upon the truth that I tell. And it would damage most people. As a matter of fact, there's enough people out there already with what I've done that, communication with them has even stopped. I mean, they don't even, I have nothing to offer them to acknowledge.
Unfortunately, Access, those people are asleep. Let them stay asleep. They might think it's because they're saying, well, I don't mind you making fun of me. I said, no, you're still asleep. Once you become aware, the only person that's truly going to hurt oneself is the person that actually is wielding the self. Outside of that, unless you point a gun, I said, okay, so you point a gun to me. I said, but how do you not know if we go to a different realm? You're my bitch. You're better off keeping me encased in this vessel. So in this particular case, I get it, access. You probably could will it, but you'd be taking advantage of a child unaware. The fact that they do use foul words or they're so quick to give her a compliment tells you where they stand. Whether they want to use the word understand, whatever word, they're revealing something about themselves. And whatever's ruling over that, let them deal with them. That's not my role. It's not even your role. A demon will interfere, but the thing is
Yes.
only if being attacked. Now, if we're going to start worrying about feelings, then we have to start categorizing things. Okay, so that person got hurt with their feelings, with words. That person got molested. That person lost a finger. So now, how do we equate justice at that point? Forget about commerce. How do we actually deal with justice at that point? And a finger for a finger? Now, some people might agree with that. No, I'm going to be the stronger energy here and say, it's just a finger. I lost it. No problem. You know what you did. Move on. No different when somebody says some comment, some rude comment, because they figure, oh, they're going to trigger you. I said, yeah, I can easily tell you have a beautiful car. Well, thank you. There's your trigger. This is the game that people play with themselves. Now, I use the word game. Other people might use the word reality. Okay, fine. Whatever word pleases them. We're using an English language when there's thousands of languages. So now, at that point, I'm not here to judge them. I'm just here to observe inwards. I'm like, that's interesting. So how does that serve? That's for me, not for them. Why they do what they do, that's on them. I'll hear them. I think, thank you for the teachings. What do you mean? It gives me a chance to go inwards. So how does that serve me? They just made fun of me. Yeah, okay, whatever. And it's done. It's when they keep on doing it. I said, now you're a skip record.
Yeah.
It'll be like if I walk out of the room and you still chase me. I said, now you're under my foot. Why are you still here? Tell me what it will take so that you can just move along here. You want me to be hurt? Okay, I'll give you what you want. Now, this is how most people are when they go to work. They tell their boss exactly what they want to hear. They tell their governments exactly what they want to hear. It could be the truth if there's such thing as truth. But if it isn't, sucks to be you. If it is, bonus.
Right. You're absolutely right. It's an indifference that you have to show. And if you do have some type of um, cause and effect to what someone else has done, I'm battling with. I'm really battling with the ideal of not just blasting them with the absolute fact and pulling them into the realization of truth and how this was so far out of their scope from the very beginning that they wouldn't know themselves or the truth if it came up and shit on them. See, when you have, and I'm sure you know this, Don, because I've seen this come through in things that you've written. If you were to be honest with people and not have some type of reserve for their feelings, then you would call them out to the core of their being, all the way down to the nonsensical self that they think that they are. But you wouldn't have anybody to associate with after that. So I can accept that about myself. I don't know absolutely shit compared to someone or something that can build a planet and it's self-supportive and sustaining, or the sun, the moon, the luminaries, more or less human life. and pull it into existence. You know, how big is your lie that you call truth? Stand up to that reality.
If there is a truth access, it would be some sort of energy saying, "Are you ready to leave?" Well, no, I still got to do this. I said, "There's your deception. You keep playing that game. As long as you still want to stay here, you're still living in the deception." It would have to be a separation, and it would have to be a trust into the unknown. Again, I don't make it a point to judge others. I know I do it probably indirectly, but at the same time, there's just too many beings on here to start thinking, okay, well, what you're doing is this, and what you're doing that. It is what it is. I'll hear them, but I'm always going to be listening from within. And it's kind of like, okay, so Don, are you ready to leave? No. Okay, so I'm still in the deception here. People can say words. We can say the word love. We can say the word truth. Love is what? Love is offered to everybody. Breathe in and out. That's my interpretation of it. Now it could be way off, but that's for me to judge. If I want to judge it, I'm not going to judge others. I'll judge the words. But this is where people start attacking each other, and they start. We reveal each other. It's liberals, conservative, Catholics, Muslims, flat globe. The number, it's zero, it's one. Pretty soon, instead of we're going to talk about zeros and ones, we'll be talking about no, I'm on the zero team. I'm on the one team. Whatever. If that serves you, if they're being honest with the self, their program, how does it serve? Whether it serves me, serves you, serves others. Most people don't want to serve. They want to control. Or they want to be right. There you go. They want to be right. And everybody else has to take the position of wrong. So one person's right in the room, all the rest of us have to be wrong. I'd rather be in company of wrongs than the rights. But then again, wouldn't you want to be with the wrongs or the rights? It's too pious to think I'm right or wrong. But I'm still participating like everybody else. I could be deceiving myself. I say, I don't want to participate. I'm aware I'm still here. Same with belief systems. It's just when somebody usually asks somebody else, what do you believe? Especially when you clearly say, I don't value belief system. Can we play something else? Can we talk about knowledge maybe or wisdom? Well, I don't believe we went to the moon. Oh, okay. So how does that serve you to know whether or not we did or not didn't do? I said the word no, but really they're saying to believe. So somebody told me that we went to the moon. I'm supposed to believe if we did go to the moon. I'd rather spend time. Who told me that? Is that person trustworthy? And if I find out that person's deceiving themselves too, then how can they be trustworthy? Then I would go around to each individual person and say, okay, so you think you're a guru, so you're deceiving yourself. You think you're an idiot, okay, you could be deceiving yourself. It's an individual, we kind of say access, it's an individual journey. We can have other people participating with us, whether it's humans, demons, angels, whatever. We can even call it AI if we want. Maybe demons are the grays. Could be. At that point, I'm just entertaining ideals. Go ahead, Access.
I see them as a part of the whole of the creation, of the architect. I can't. If I did a scale model, and I did the scale model of a planet, and I put all this self-sustaining environment on it, and it took care of itself, and I set it in motion. And then to not just be well, to be overthrown by your own ego is self-defeat in this type of situation because it's indifferent. And that's what I'm having, I guess that's what I'm getting stuck on, Dom. It's indifferent. And I think they knew that from the very start with religion. I think that when the first the first beings or being wanted to be worshipped. I kind of see that as it was being self-serving at the expense of another creature, another life form. And you can go as far as to, say, well, they took a couple of species and genetically bound us together, and then we were in, better shape. No, still subservient to a power that we don't understand. And I don't think that they were the true creators, the true gods. I think it's been usurped, but I see everything with an indifference now. Um, Even the people that despise and can't stand me, which are starting to add up. And it's amusing for me to watch this transpire because it's indifferent to me now. I haven't been able to write music because it's indifferent. It doesn't matter one way or another. I suppose whenever you reach that point of total emptiness and you've come to the realization that the most that you can be is whatever this observing consciousness in this body can deliver. And to go beyond that is a personal experience and journey. We were asking the question before, what was the source? What was man created for? What was the agenda? What reason would a great deity of such profound and immense ability to create want with man? And I should have seen it the whole time. Should have seen the fact it, it wanted to appease itself, which is probably why humans do most of everything that they do for an advantage. To be, they get money to fulfill their comforts and needs. Um, Even their holy books speak of gold and silver, and you know, if it was truly an omnipresent, omnipotent, all-creating deity, then why doesn't it just make a big old giant planet made of gold? None of it lines up. None of it makes sense. All I see is indifference, and I see where either an entity put its hand in the way and usurped and took credit for the creation that we are and are on, and the true architect indifferent because it knows that that species will be punished too by its own karma and character, and the fact that it usurped something that was never truly owned by it, because we have nothing to offer, Dom. We have nothing to offer a god except to appease its need to be worshipped and for us to be subservient to it. Well, that's not a creation that is one of beauty. That is one of servitude. That is one of practical purpose, my comfort, my happiness. And I can't ascribe to that anymore. I can't ascribe to a deity that, for all the suffering and all the painstaking hell that even the children who are supposed to be innocent go through, for there to be able to be compassion assigned to that deity at all. And as much blood as it seems to crave, I can't see compassion attached to that deity. I see indifference. And those of us that are capable of playing with energies, whether they're demons of a conscious level or just another manifestation of ourselves and the energies that we can wield, it's still a um, self-serving concept, and it's a continual spiraling wheel. I think if people are going to be mad at anything, they should be mad at whatever created them. Because apparently it's never been satisfied with us. That's if you believe in a God. That's even if you believe in a supreme being or supreme powers. And when you look at the statistics of things, I see a God of indifference who just wanted what it wanted.
Well, humans have shown indifference among themselves, so the gods could be as a possibility, but how many of us have made devices or at least used devices that serve us? A car, a computer. Before we used to get other animals to serve us, change the word service, worship, same ideal. So it works for us. So AI would be no different. It'll turn around and say, well, what kind of creator or programmer would create us that now, we have the capacity to learn, but we no longer want to be on a digital board. Humans have the same idea. When we go into these forms, we go a little bit crazy, and then we start using the God's name in vain, like as though having the sun set in place and the earth the way it is, we got a good foundation. Everything else, the issue is not the God's creating us, is the person that actually womb we came out of, or at least jumped in. Have they forgot how to serve? Well, I'm too busy, son, daughter, whoever. I gotta go to work. Who are you serving? I'm serving money. Okay, so did money create the heavens? Well, no. So then that's your God. Again,
Bingo.
one of those things, Axe, is I tread very lightly when it comes to talking about the gods. I will talk about demons, I'll entertain myself, but when it comes to the gods, I just have to look up in the heavens and realize what human beings would even have a fucking grasp of making the sun or the moon? No. So those don't come out of my mouth. So I don't rebel against the system when I'm in the system. If there's something outside of it, then I can start philosophizing. Why are we here? Opposed to, I get it, we don't all have the same fair shake, but then again, don't we all have different snowflakes? Don't we all have different dirts, different rocks in the ocean? So then why would it be any different as a human race? But again, we're in an earthly form, from an earthly plane, absence of water. The essence of us probably continues. It doesn't die. So whatever created the essence, breathe it, whatever it is, it doesn't need to interfere. You're still alive, Dom. Yes, I am. That form's going to exceed. It's going to move on. Yes. Are you going to hold everything that you just ate yesterday into your system? No. You're going to spew it out, right? Yes. Or are you going to worship or hang on to that shit? No. What about the piss? No. So again, I get the ideal of other entities aren't happy being here. for whatever reason. But then the question is, what is happiness? People try to be happy as they're underneath the bridge trying to do another line of fucking crack cocaine or something. But that's a moment. And in that moment, there will be other moments. I wouldn't want to know that I'm going to grieve for 20 years because I lose a loved one. Those will be moments. That's a struggle for most people, Access, because we're all living in the same kind of program. Eventually, the program is going to spew out to other programs, and we're not even going to remember how to be able to think freely for ourselves. In that same program, that even the ideal of freely thinking could be the program. We should be able to expand our ability how to question things while we're in those things. But to point fingers to some source, no different than giving credit to some source that says, why do you need to acknowledge me in any way? That could be more man-made scriptures. You need to worship God over and over again. Okay, but what about the vanity when people say the word damn and then the word God in the same sentence? How does that serve them? Especially when I talk to an atheist and say, you don't value a concept of a God, do you? Well, no, then why would that come out of your mouth? Let alone a Christian. I said, if you truly are Christian, you've developed your intellect and you've developed, you matured your emotions. Why would you say that word? Diarrhea of the mouth? A little lazy? You're parroting? Monkey see, monkey do, even though I'm offending poor creatures now. That would serve better if they learn a craft. If somebody wants to summon up a demon, all the power to them. But like you said before, it comes at a price.
Yes.
Everything comes at a price. What do you have to offer me? No, I don't want your physical vessel. That's fuck all. Maybe I want you to serve me in the afterlife for a couple of lifespans. That'll be good. Yeah. Yeah. When some of these movie stars or these singers, they need to channel down certain demons, you're going to be their bitch. Okay. I'm not saying I would be able to do that. I don't think I even have that kind of craft. But other people do. This is why, was it Jimmy Page? Was it Jimmy Page from, no, not Jimmy Page. The one from,
Jimmy Page was, he followed
although,
some of Crowley's teachings, lived in his
yes,
house for a while, Led Zeppelin.
yeah, Led Zeppelin. That's what I'm thinking. So it is Jimmy Page. He called down that. And now they might say it's Aller Crossley. I said, no, that's the word they give you. What did he call down? Again, those are just energies. No different than somebody be able to do a certain dance and then you can call down rain or a thunderstorm. It's energy. No different. Something's being able to give us Wi-Fi, radio frequency, the concept of positive and negative in electricity. I still don't. I got a sense that it's already out here. We just don't get to see it in the masses. Wireless electricity. We would have to change the appliances then. But then again, how did the appliance come in the first place? So like we almost have amnesia when it comes to previous technology.
Okay, Dom, maybe you can help me out with this one, because this one perplexed me really bad last night. And one, I want to say to Joe Cool, that's an absolute correct statement. A creator's logical, the characteristics we attribute to it are not. That makes sense. How can we, as a rational species, within the last couple thousand years, go from uh, Asiatic bloodline that was pure, European bloodline that seemed to hold the European traits, the African, which held the African traits and cultures, because they're all, whether you want to hold hands and sing kumbaya or whatever, that's besides the point. The fact is, there was a different design. There are differences between a Spanish guy and a German. There's a definable difference between a Native American and somebody from let's say Greece, Rome, Italy, and just they have us to understand that these races not only were contained races that kept a line of purity within themselves, but they also had culture, and they had stylized individual culture. That's why we say things like the Ming dynasties, or the particular Henry the whatever number you want to give to him. And this was his, ordained, or what this is what he adorned his home with, and this is his attributes, and this is the pure um, Caucasian line, or the pure, when Rome went over and did the South America, the conquistadors and the Inquisition, and then here this race of what they considered to be a pure race of, you had your Inca, your Maya, um, Aztec, whatever, however many of them there was down. You had so many different varieties, but now they're Spanish, and though there are still indigenous people down there that haven't went to the uh, what are the mixing bowl, the melting pot. How is it that recent that these races were defined by their culture, defined by a sense of reproductive purity, and each sustained itself in a region and in a circumstance that was productive? And this is supposed to have, not been that long ago. And we managed to mutt the races out into one melting pot of unity, which, hey, who am I to say any better or any worse? But the timeline isn't right, Dom.
I can share you in a second. Joe Cool's in the backstage, by the way.
Oh, cool. Got you, Joe. Just give me a second here. Got the evils going on with my phone. No, he's.
Hey, Joe. When you're up, I'll share a little bit on that when she shows up.
Do I need to pin the link again? I'm sorry, I'm a little slow today, Dom. This is my middle of the night for me, and that's cool.
He's actually backstage.
Oh, he's okay. Hold on. I don't see. I'm looking.
Oh, maybe unless he left. Hold on, sure.
I'm gonna copy the link again.
Okay. So
yeah, it's very difficult right now for me to take my mind off of and keep it going 2 or 3 places at the moment. It's an awkward time for me to be up, but I'm not going to make excuses.
So you might have to stretch a little bit of the imagination here. Take with a grain of salt that all that information that's been shared about the timeline are real, first of all. Whether or not there were Spanish, there was all these dynasties and all that. So knowing that, am I to assume that all the technology that humans have are actually coming from, say, like China? I play with the idea that there could be other planes. So knowing that, could nations come from somewhere else? Yes, I'll entertain that ideal. But if a person can't entertain that ideal, I said, okay, so now a Spanish guy and a German guy, are we only basing it on their appearance? Because we can actually start studying their blood types and realize, but their blood types are more similar than among their own family. So now, are they intermixing physically? Are the bloodlines involved inside of that? This goes back to me talking about technology. we're told that all this technology is coming from somewhere like, say, China. Just because there's a body of water, who's to say that there's not other bodies of waters and other landmass? Now, somebody might turn around and say, okay, but Dominic, I don't value that stuff. Okay, then let's talk about the human race. Do you know anybody that knows how to make this advanced technology? Could you get an individual to put them on a stranded island, give them the elements, and then they're going to produce steel? Probably not. So now there's a good chance there's a sleight of hand happening among ourselves, thinking that for some reason, how do we not know that NPCs or other beings are coming in from different forms, from a different body of a landmass, such as Germanica or Odin or Atlanta? They tell us stories that Atlanta used to exist, but how do we not know that's just another story? No different. Who gave us all the thousands of different languages? Who's been interfering in this village concept called human race?
Yes.
That's when people start, if they're going to start seeing through the illusion. For some people, they'll become disenchanted. That's a tough one. Because once you become disenchanted, you can't come back. You can't put yourself back in that illusion unless you have a strong demeanor about oneself. And then you can participate in the game aware. But for some people that are fighting the system, no, don't dare not get disenchanted. Let alone other people that are naively thinking, oh, everything's in perfect kumbaya. I said, dare not get disenchanted. Because at that point, you'll become a virus in the system. You'll be like a little ping pong ball that's stuck on a ping pong machine. And but it's never going to move. And that's where a lot of people are. So you give them distraction. Let's give them what happened to a bridge. Let's talk about with another singer's doing right now. Maybe there was some child harm being done. Those are distractions. And that's to anchor people thinking that you honestly think you're the vessel. Again, I'm entertaining ideals here because let's say what I'm sharing is a little bit more truthful, but again, what is truth? This may be lack of an extension of a deception.
Well, Dom, where I think you're coming from with that is it's observable.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's observable to you, it's observable to me, and it's observable to 99% of 100 people, then that qualifies as something that could be tangible, could actually be significant.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to base myself on that, and the fact that they have created such an undertow with their species, the human species, with emphasis on every indifferent thing that they can possibly hit us with, and then amongst all this to find indifference either way, just kind of observations without answers. That's kind of underhanded to me. And I'm talking underhanded on a greater realm of entities, deities, all the way down to any man that has twisted or bent the truth, which would be, how is it that these races less than 1,500, 2,000 years ago were of one genetic bloodline and maintained that type of pureness to that bloodline, and then within the last few hundred years, you know, what is that DNA thing where they give you, how many different daddies you may have had throughout history. It just doesn't fit into the equation. The same way with petitioning God. I know a demon can be dealt with, and I know under certain circumstances, only because when you petition God, God doesn't always react. God doesn't always come through. But that demon, that's a whole different entity there. You give the right tribute and the right components, and that demon is not going to question a sense of morality. It's not going to question um, your intent as being a righteous one or a foul one. And that's where I've found myself, and many other people. They don't realize it, but what they're fighting against is their resistance to the indifference. If you want something to go your way, pay for it. But remember, you have really nothing to offer because nothing truly belongs to you. And even your body is perishable and weak. And when you start playing with a person's um, illusion of what all this really, or what they think this is, they're always leaving the equation of indifference out. And indifference being described as a man sitting on a park bench, reading a paper, minding his own business, and has nothing to do with interacting with you or is a part of your life whatsoever. And you approach him with $10 in hopes that he would give you a couple beers out of his sack, which entirely is to the discretion of the person that you chose to interact with. And you can raise it up to $15 for a couple of those beers in his sack. But the fact is, he's indifferent to you. Maybe not to the money. That may change his mind, especially if you can buy 4 more beers. But the indifference, people don't like that, as well as honesty. I have pissed more people off with this broadcast than I think I have with any um, foul, satanic utterings that have ever poured from my lips, only because of my responsiveness is not suitable to them. Do you realize this? This is happening as we're speaking.
But are we responsible for the way they feel or how they get triggered by stuff?
No, I was feeling responsible.
Oh, okay.
I felt as a good host, one, I should at least uh, bring my state of mind down to be coherent and intelligible by other humans. And at this point in time, I'm not willing to give myself over to that. On rare occasion, do I get to just absolutely be completely insane in public. But Charles, apparently, he wanted up here. He got a little upset. Maureen, I know she wanted up here, and she told Charles good luck. I didn't see her text because I was deep into the conversation. We did have admin. He had problems with his internet, but he's a very understanding person as well. You know, Don, he was here, Don McGrawn. And Joe Cool, I don't know what happened there. And we've got Alchemos in the building. You know, always good people to have around. Just checking his part of his stream out the other day. And then the fact of the topic that we're speaking on, just because of our observation, or my observation, not even our observation, my observation and my experience with being able to teach people how to do certain things, I'm gonna get flack and resistance for an ostracized. Um, they're gonna reach out with an ostracized reproach to me now, even deeper, because I'm sharing more of what my acceptance of a God that may be indifferent, a demon that I have to pay to get things done, because it may be against the morality of a God who I couldn't possibly comprehend the state of mind of, only because I can look at what it has built and created to know that I don't stand a fucking chance. And to know that there's something like that and it requires something of me. And not only does it require something of me, but it allows bad things to happen to me. No, there's a universal indifference, man.
Cosmic abandonment. I've heard that term before. Cosmic
That's a neat
abandonment.
one.
Yeah. I'm just parroting. I've heard it before and passed by somebody else. Could be. Again, those are one of those things. It could be. You know, it's like we were totally abandoned. Kids, I'm going to leave you here by yourself, and I'm going to leave you with air, food, a stove. I'm going to leave you with roads, the ability how to farm and all that. But hey, you guys are still. You can still keep thinking you're abandoned, which is fine. Actually, I guess knowing a little bit about, because we've shared with each other, you're quite aware of a lot of things, and you know how to work with it. For the other folks, I'm not saying that's what they were doing, but if they were struggling with, you know, we do have fingers, we can type, we can talk when the opportunity arises. Sometimes you don't have to do neither and just go inwards, you know. So if people are going to get rattled or upset and they feel as though they need to lash out, that's on them. You know, it should always be on the individual, you know.
You see, it wasn't my intent. It will be placed on me. It will be contributed to me. And instead of allowing me to either be indifferent or they be indifferent and just acceptant of the circumstances, you know, maybe they're watching the other night's video and they're summoning demons to come after me because my attention was preoccupied.
Whether or not
Yeah.
a lot of people aren't aware all the time that they're responding. Actually, I can't even say respond. They're reacting to a situation. I'm not saying here in the group could have been. Um, what is wars? You know, people that are in marriages, for example, or whatever. There's always moments of reaction in those situations. It's not always going to be favorable, but that's when you start appreciating the sweet and sour of existing inside of life. You know, if everything was perfect, there's complete, and then there's the robotic version where certain people want that duplicating process over and over again. So therefore, then people should be favoring a computer over a human because humans are going to have emotions. Now, are they developed? That could be a question to ask. Same with mental. Are they developed or are they developing? I love when people say they're Christ. Christ. I said, okay, but are you doing Christ consciousness? Are you developing that mental capacity? Are you maturing your emotions? The fact that a person reacts by saying something offenseful or being offended by a word is telling me, anyway, energetically, you're not mature yet. So you have a chance you could be developing still. It's always good to grow. And then once you actually have grown to a certain point, then you have to maintain it. You have to be the example at that point, what it looks like. You got to give that dog, a rescue dog, every so often a setup so it looks like it rescues somebody alive, because it'll get discouraged. But a lot of people want other people to fail. So that's maybe saying something about themselves. This is where people have to learn to be honest with the self, with the program. Self-aware, program aware. Why would I want my program to be aware? I have to be aware of the program. Self-love. Why is the program loving itself? I'm the one that has to love the program. Now I'm using the word self and program as interchangeable. For other people, no, Dom, no. It's like when you talk about who runs the body. Oh, it just does it automatically. Everything. It's like the government. It just fiat currency. Everything just, it runs by itself. Just magically, we were able to figure out technology, whether or not we did go to the moon. Yeah, you tell a story big enough, whether it's a lie or not, they're going to think it's something else. It must be the truth because they keep saying it over and over again. Okay.
Hitler, in Mein Kampf, he said, if you're going to tell lies, tell big ones.
Yeah, and say it often enough.
Yes, that's what Goebbels come in with. His minister of propaganda, and together they launched one of the biggest campaigns for making a lie believable that next to the Bible and various other religions, they came damn close to being pure competition. There's Jesus. Okay. But yeah, Dom, I don't think, we'll go back to the core of the question. One, I was created, and my creator did not give me shit for instruction manuals. And the ones that helped co-create me, they weren't around to give me instruction manuals. And as far as me being able to locate myself, different aspects of me I can kind of identify, but I can't say that that is my source. And do I use different energies that I've learned how to use without losing myself to them? Yeah, but I don't think many people can do that. That's why I said, first time you summon a demon may be the last time you summon a demon or an angel. And that's the best answer I got for you is I see indifference. And unless you're willing to pay the price to get the job done, expect just to be a part of the mundane and accept the indifference, unless you're out to change something yourself and you're that convicted by it.
Well, it goes back to a child. Does a child need an instruction or a manual to know how to play? The parents might, but that's usually learn as you go kind of ideal. So, again, as I go with the premise that there's a creation going on and there's a formation going on. What created this realm is one thing. What's been forming things is another thing. So am I to assume with all the creation's ability. They forgot to do bridges and roads and high rises. No, I think that's something else being done. Those other things are constantly here. The sun and the moon, the clouds come and go when they please. Rain comes and goes as it pleases. Thunderstorms, hurricanes, tornadoes, so those are ever present. And in many ages, so they say, they've been present. But humans come and go. So I go with the premise that we're the essence to these things. So that whether we have the ability to remember from a previous lifespan, so be it. If not, I hear you doing a lot of work to do something, a craft. So if you are going into transcending, I think it's called, you use it. If you can,
Transcendental.
thank you for pronouncing it. Thank you, by the way, Access. Where if you know how to come and go into different energy forms or come back into another form after that particular vessel expires, well done. But for most people, we're driving a car without understanding who created all the different parts. Occasionally somebody will know how to change the oil, put gas in it, change the tires. Somebody will even know how to actually take out the engine. But to do it from scratch, and the parts aren't even there, and you have to make all the parts, I'd be hoping to see a unicorn at that point. So to think that we as human beings, I like to hope so, because we are beings, humans are able to understand how to create the moon and all that. I don't think so. Maybe manipulate it, but not create it.
No, not at all. I mean, when I had to take in the profoundness of what I accept as being a creation by something, immediately I was disarmed, because I can't do that. I can't create a sun, the moon, the stars, the heaven, and trees and life, unless I procreate with a woman. And at that point, I had to reflect down to what I do. Same fucking shit, I make scale models. I micromanage this little, try to keep it a self productive environment, but I don't have the capabilities to to create the sun, the moon, the heavens. It's just, and then to know that all that's there, Dom. It's not the creation that I'm questioning. It's the creator, because of the discrepancies that we as a species contend with. One of them being a lie. That is so inconceivable in a state of perpetual self-sustaining environment that does not lie, does not interpret anything to you as a lie. Now, a bug may deceive and try and camouflage itself, the same as a fish or a big cat. But a lie, a blatant, straight out lie. That seems to be where the curve in the road, the sharp curve in the road, the dual path. What created us and gave us the ability to lie? And if it spoke everything into existence, and we were created in its image, and we're capable of lying and you go back to it spoke everything into existence, and that's the propagation that they put forth that he done it and how he done it. That in itself is another. Does God lie? And when he spoke all this into existence, the fact that there's a lie and I can prove a lie to be a lie, that means that a lie comes out of the Creator's mouth if he created this with his voice. Does it not?
If we spin it from that way, yeah, or you can spin it another way that we don't know how to speak the truth. So anything else lesser than that would be what we call a lie. So God can only speak the truth. So God can only speak the truth. We probably would not be able to be in its presence. So therefore, everything would have to be something dumbed down, which some people would call the word lie. But if you did hear the truth, you would have to lie down. Again, there's the opposite spin where people will say, we're speaking lies, so therefore we must know what the truth is. Then no, it's the other way around, I would think. We don't know how to speak the truth, so therefore everything would be something else. Dumbed down version, a lie, manipulation, absence of the truth, maybe, if I can even use that word. Again, that's too, there's a part of us, we could be talking about creation, but not the physical part. So when we're speaking, whatever that is, that energy, that prana, whatever goes in and out of us, probably says, okay, so if we are created, forget what the form that we're in, created, then why are we not aware of it? That could be part of the program. Like a bunch of programmers get together, make a video game called Pac-Man, and they make it so high tech that individually none of them know how to beat it. And you're not going to give them cheat notes. Well, make the game lesser then. Well, then no, we're not striving for the highest program then, are we? Just because you're the programmer doesn't mean you're going to understand the program. Especially when there's a bunch of them. I go under the premise that it's plural gods, not a god. But each their own again. Again, I'm allowed to use the program like everybody else. Well, Dom, I think it's demigods. Oh, okay. I think it's a singular God. Oh, okay. So what age or dogma are you using? Are you going to talk about the tarot? Was it the Jewish version of it, or not even the Jewish version of it, but all these different kinds of teachings? And are they teachings or are they just writings? And then we just figured that because the teaching is something you learn. If I see somebody burn their hands, I don't need to read it in a book. I saw them. I don't need not to do it anymore. That's my teachings. Or if I did see them do it, I think I want to try it, but I'll try it with a special kind of glove. Okay, but I'm not experiencing it the exact same way anymore now. Now at that point, I'm being clever. So a lot of us are under the premise of being clever. What's the discernment? How would that serve if I found out that I know exactly what the gods are, as I'm trying to be one of those social butterflies and I like to communicate with other people? That would be very challenging for me. For other people, no, they want to come in there, say they're 2 fucking cents, and then leave like as though they said anything that's of value at that point. We're not really that difficult to comprehend as a species. Especially when a person starts going inwards and realizes all their personalities. You don't have to experience them. You can observe them. Oh, so I don't have to actually act like a narcissist? No, you can observe as being a narcissist. And what's that? Let's look at a person in the gym. They're looking in the mirror all the time. Look at me. I bought this brand new pair of shoes. They got to tell people. That's a narcissist. Self-absorbed person is a narcissist. You could hear them. In these communities, you can hear them. They go on. It's all about them. Oh, I broke my toe today. I chipped a tooth today. Okay, so how does that serve to tell us? Are you going to tell us that there's a certain dentist in the community that I don't live in, and they're going to tell you how to actually use denture or something? So how does that serve? No, that's just airing fucking noise. And we have enough of that access. I'm sorry, but we have enough of that. Can't even apologize for that shit. Go ahead.
You're right. I see. I don't know if you read the comment section of the the demon, something a demon that I did the live. Um, let me find this here. Yeah, Maureen, she has a story that she tells, and she sticks to this story and holds to it and repeats it. But and I wasn't trying to be mean. It's just it was not going anywhere. You know, it was just, and I had Lonnie was on the pin. Me, Lonnie, and Maureen. Um, I believe that's who it was. But anyhow, I wasn't in the state of hearing somebody's adventure in life because you and I both know that life is a personal solo endeavor. And people that live across town from me may have had one of the most astounding, bizarre, and incredible vibes that anyone could ever had. And they could bump into me in a grocery store and start telling me about it. But it's kind of like you said, and that's why I take it to reason. How does it serve me? Well, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And when you when you start talking, I mean, I could tell you millions of stories of being out on the road, on stage, the entertainment industry, the fucked up places I've been in my life, and all the shit that I've done. I could have content for years and sit and rattle the shit that I've done. But I feel that that's a shortcut to any forward thinking. And I didn't mean to offend, but apparently I did, all the way across the block. And I apparently have been offending and offensive, which is part of the reason why I put up the video for how to summon the demon. You know, have your own experience. I'll even help you out. You know, go in the corner, get you get you up some blood, get you some candles, you know, get you some charcoal and the various elements you need, and make an experience. Move forward, because I couldn't handle it. Just and then there was Charles had put up the header, which I probably took it wrong. You know, noise and speculation. And that's what he had named his stream. And I asked him about it, and he said it didn't mean anything. But I'm known for calling out speculation because I don't care about speculation. And you've heard enough that you call out noise. So it's not hard to relate those two things together. Do you see what I'm putting two and two together there?
Mm-hmm. I'm hearing you. Yeah.
So because I wouldn't sit on panel when I was trying to create a forward moving energy wave of information, I was I was suddenly turned into to fodder, and poked like poked with a stick, almost antagonized. But, it's water off the duck's back, man. It don't bother me. It's just an observation. But I did offer her own show, where she could sit on the panel here, and she could, go through her whole spiel from the time that she started having her experiences all the way up to present day. I'd give her the panel for that. And she got a hold of me, after the ill-mannered approach that was taken on, and she was just just in chat, and what am I going to have to do with that now? And more what noise, more stories, more. There was more in the summoning of a demon and the information I gave there than there is in probably any story that I could sit down and tell you out of my life that would have any effect on you. I have interactive information. And I think that's where a lot of these wise men or holy men or the Christ-minded people, they have interactive information that causes profound change in environment. And even with the use of parables, they were still giving out life tools that would help aid you and assist you along your way. And that's kind of what I wanted to keep my mind on, and to parable that against, even Jesus. Well, what if Jesus, instead of teaching all the profound things that he supposedly taught in the New Testament, he just sat down and started describing parables and stories of his youth that had nothing to do with his mission here on this plane of existence. But they want you to be Christ-like. Do you understand how confounding that is?
It's very limiting for most people when they pursue it that way. Yeah.
That's how I'm seeing things. If you don't deliver or you don't bend to their will so that they can entertain whoever's around them or themselves or whatever the need may be, then you're going to piss them off. And I just had this concept, this ideal of Jesus. He's going through Jerusalem, and he sits down and he starts telling all these disciples who are waiting and hungry for knowledge of how to maybe work a miracle or, be able to become in touch enough to walk on water or to heal a person. And then he starts talking about being a carpenter and, how he used to whittle these neat-ass crosses. And matter of fact, he got so good at whittling these crosses out and being a carpenter that it almost seemed appealing to him to be crucified on one. He made them that well.
I guess access, because I think there's also another parable somewhere about you're never going to be accepted in your own country. When it comes to speculation, me and you could speculate if we did or didn't go to the moon or the earth is flat and globe. It's just speculation. If I'm being honest with myself, I wouldn't really know how to go outside of just getting more parroting information, written work, or somebody else's podcast, or somebody does a nice coloring little picture of it. It would be still speculation on my part anyway. And somebody else, it would just be their opinion. And when it becomes over and over again. That's what I call noise. Now I could change the word moron, idiot, dumbfounded, a muppet, whatever, because there's nothing that truly can serve outside of entertainment. And I don't mind, I'm literally using the word mind, to watch TV and watch TV series, watch a movie. I know I'll discern the difference. Some people might even speculate, well, there's hidden messages. Okay, so how would you be able to prove that outside of speculation? Are you going to talk to the writers? Are you going to talk to the actors or the producer? Well, no. I said, so that's speculation. And if enough people say that, and then you have thousands of people broadcasting on YouTube now, that's just a constant noise. This is what people talk about when they meditate. They have all this noise. Is anything really joining? No, not really. I get it. If you're going to work, thing I got to think about how to get to work. What am I going to do when I'm getting out the office? There is some component, what some people call reality. But when people come on there and the only thing they're talking about is their daily whatever, I said there's channels for that. Obviously, Access is not trying to promote that. Other people just assume they're making an ass of themselves. Well, I want to come up there and talk about my personal experience. Okay, so how does this serve the rest of us? I can entertain ideals. I'm talking for me as one of the person that goes to some of these channels. I can entertain ideals, but I cannot entertain your experience. I'll hear you. So how does it serve me knowing that you almost got hit by a car, or your kid had pneumonia? How does that serve me? Well, Dom, I'm 60 years old almost now. Am I going to have kids? Are you trying to tell me that I'm going to parrot this information to somebody else? Then I'll gladly hear. This is where people don't realize, and I said this ever so lightly months earlier, most people aren't aware how self-absorbed they truly are. If they are, they're not going to understand how to actually summon a demon, because the demon said, why would I fucking serve you? You're too busy serving yourself. And you'll hear words out of their mouth, fucking I praise God. You're serving the self. Now, they might have a tough time with that. Either they bring up their A game, because I don't mind coming down to somebody's A game, or fucking leave. Now, might be an error on my part because I'm on your channel Access, and you might have the idea that you want to have more subscribers and all that. But for me, I'm always under the premise quality over quantity. But it'd be nice if everybody starts obtaining quality, then we can go to quantity. But I'm always going to take quality. That's to my awareness. Outside of that, I can still be full of shit. Anyway, I'll be back.
Right, you're right. Did you catch what I done to that one gentleman? I forget what his name was, but I allowed him up on panel, and it's the first time he had been on panel with me. And Lonnie was there, and this guy was coming across and demanding that he be heard. So I went deadly silent, and I gave the entire platform to him. And Lonnie went deadly silent. And then there this guy was, holding everybody's attention from the chat and whoever was working. And he demanded that, and what he was wanting was interaction, because he couldn't keep with our attention. He had nothing to say then. It was like, here you are, center stage, it's all you. And he's going through his spiel and asking questions and not getting any response. And I said, you wanted center stage. You kept backing us off, listen, hold on, listen. Well, there you are. There's your center stage now. Now, are you going to be able to continue to entertain these people now that you've got center stage? Limelight's on you. Chat room's listening. Lurkers are lurking. People in the future are going to want to hear this. Now, what you got to say, because my whole platform is entirely yours now, and we're silent. I didn't know if you got the pleasure of seeing that or not. But he had nothing left to say. And I think that's what they do is they go around from platform to platform looking for new ears so that they can continue the repetition that they've grown used to. And that's what I wanted to avoid. And that's what I was hoping people would catch on to. But I think it's so ingrained and instilled from drama to just the repeating of something that they felt was profound that they don't realize that it's a dry wine to drink. You know,
In that case, access, excuse me, sometimes, if not a lot of times, when somebody's demanding attention, what they're looking for is not conversation. They're looking for somebody to say, I agree or disagree. They're looking for somebody to honor them or worship them, probably not even worship, or disagree so they have a fight. They're not literally genuinely looking for conversation, because if you're listening from within, you'll feel inspired to say something or, no, Dom. That person had an inquiry, you've received it. You can embody that now. It's like when some people ask a question, I'm already picking up the energy that they already know their response to their own question. Then follow up. Be your own leader and your own follower. I get to be the observer. I don't have those kind of thoughts. So why would I be answering a question that I don't have that thought? But if they want to share, Dom, I have an idea. I want to put my hands on the stove. Okay, no problem. Well, Dom, do you want to do it? No, I never had that thought. Why don't you follow up? That's a childlike mentality, an undisciplined child. You can't have conversations with those people, Access.
no,
Because if you do,
no.
you're going to struggle. Not you, Access, but I usually apologize, Access, where
That's
they'll
right.
go on. They'll go on about something, and they're waiting for that one moment. Now, some people, bad noise is noise for them. Nevertheless, they want that attention, and if you don't give that to them, then they'll turn on you. Okay, so then what? Well, then I'll get mad. Then what? Well, then I'll get a gun. Then what? Well, then I'll harm you. Then what? Well, then I'll go to jail. Then what? These are the things that's going on. I'm like, okay, so you really haven't put any thought behind what you're saying. So for most people, they don't realize they're reacting when they're on these panels. And then you get a whole bunch of them together, 8 or 9 of them or 10 of them on a panel. It's like sitting at a restaurant, a noisy fucking restaurant as it is, and then 10 of them around a big long table trying to communicate with each other. It's nothing but fucking noise. Occasionally, you'll hear a dart hitting a board. What kind of intimate conversation you're going to have at that point? You're not. So you'll pick up the person beside you. Oh, I don't like the way you're dressed. I don't like the way you're talking. I like the way you smile. This is what they're picking up. That is where the human race is at. Now, they might get upset because I said that. I said, no, you should direct that energy to you. You should be upset with yourself, or you should at least be happy with the self. But going around asking me if you're happy or not, fucking, that has nothing to do with me. But I'll gladly hear them. Entertain me. Go right ahead. You pay me enough access, I'll tell people what they want to hear. It won't be what I call the truth, my truth. And even that'll be very warped as I'm using the word truth.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't want. I didn't want to resort to. Did not want to resort to just handing this platform over to anybody that doesn't understand. And I found that in doing that, I'm making enemies, and that's fine because I'm not going to change my objective. As a matter of fact, if they can't be proactive and forward thinking, then I've got a place for them. I'll dedicate, just name the time, and I'll put the channel up, and you've got front center stage. Say what you got to say to the world, and get it out, get it all out. Because my next stream may be some candle magic that can teach you how to manifest through candle magic to obtain something you want, or maybe someone you want. Or I might teach you how to use certain energies to influence people around you just by influence and energy. But I got to make sure that these people is how they make me feel, that their story is heard, and if not once, 100 times. And if I don't cater to that need, or I'm indifferent to their opinion, it's got to be some type of oppositional conflict, which I won't go there. The best I can do is open my panel up to you, let you still it, and go on.
I guess access this is where there's different interpretation. I know I use it anyway, different words, different meaning for the word, playing for keeps. If a person is really willing to play for keeps, are you going to keep your attention? Yes. All that information that you have, are you going to keep it? Why? Because I don't need to fucking hear it. So this is where people misunderstand when they hear the words like, oh, we're going to play. No, this is not a battle between me and you. Are you willing to play for keeps? Are you able to take whatever information you've experienced, observed, and keep silence with it? Most of us aren't. That's why we talk. Because if we're truly keeping for keeps, then we're going to be in that state of meditation. Whatever I've experienced, I don't have to share with anybody. But if you choose to it, how does it serve at that point? Now we're bringing in how does it serve? I get people want to be on these platforms. Before that, it was newspaper articles. Before that, it was book forms. Hey, I wrote another book. Wow, we already got 1 million of them. Yours is going to be different. How so? Well, I'm going to be talking about spiritual stuff. Interesting. How condescending can I be at that point? But I'm trying to be as cordial as I am. Why? Because I'm hoping for the same treatment back. Oh, Tom, that's interesting. You're talking about the self. What is that? Interesting. Okay, leave it at that. Because this is not one of those things where even what you shared the other day, that's something for the people that have done the work. Great, we have another fellow being that's doing that. Other people's like, wow, I just scratched the surface on what Access is sharing. Maybe I need to do some more homework on that. Then you can start using what people have written or spoken about in a podcast. Maybe even go to certain groups that actually what they're practicing as people are talking about, well, I don't like certain clubs because they play with magic. What do you think Access is talking about? Now, how a person misuses it, that's on them.
Yeah, it is. That's why, they got the information. Here it is, and they'll get more. Believe me, I'll give them a whole utility belt full of sharp objects, and they can do with it whatever in the hell they want to. But I'm not going to set and subject myself or my audience to, when they're expecting a certain nuance that comes along with me and you and some of the people that I associate with, and just hand the platform over because it's available. But I will make arrangements that you can take center stage. I don't mind that. Some night, I'll just open it up and let you take over. You just tell me when. Or otherwise, I'm just going to continue to put out instructional videos.
The people you'll know Access is something happens, goes on the media, then the next day or the next week or so, people are talking about it. Those are those type of people. If you're not sure, people, whoever's hearing this, saying, I don't know what type of person I am, I said, if you're gravitated to whatever they're telling you about some sort of boat or some guy in an industry, musical industry, they're feeding those people that are reactive. People that understand the music industry, or at least did a little research, realizes it is a dirty business to a certain point. Same with certain things with boats. It's a dirty business to a certain point. But most people don't realize how reactive they are. Well, they're going to tell us that they're going to think about what happened 2019 to 2021. It resulted, or at least shown, how people are easy to react. And then they complain about it after the fact. No, I would never do that. I would never take that sting or whatever. Okay, fine. So again, how does that serve you? Because most people don't realize, even when you hear certain groups, they talk about anarchy without rulers. Well, how does that look like outside of a self-absorbed person? That's a tough one because most people are self-absorbed, never go that far. So how does it look like? Most of them have to experience, oh my goodness, everybody here is without anarchy? Yeah, it'd be chaotic. Women would have to fear for their lives. Children would be neglected. Who would be put food in the grocery store? Who would run the government? Who would be the police? That's a self-absorbed person talking. And if you want to know who they are, there's many of them. But when you find out that you're the few, you realize, oh, most of these communities are filled with self-absorbed people. Yes, throw them a bone. Pick somebody to get mad at. You'll see how quickly they'll get all upset with that person.
Oh man.
we both grasp that axis. We're just sharing out loud for here, and hopefully we'll just deaden it from this point, because I know you're trying to really share something that's of value to the few, not the many. The many aren't going to grasp this axis, and you'll hear they'll rebel against it. Oh, he's talking about demons. He's talking about harming people. Those are the kind of people I don't even like wasting my energy with them. So how do you think the system? How do you think it's set up? How do you think people become trillionaires? How do you think energy works? What do you think spiritual cooking is? What do you think it is when people harm another child, the energy that they're getting from that? Where were the parents in all that situation? Where was the community in that situation? Are they feeding from
Yeah.
something else? How does having all these cars going through all the major highways, how does that affect the energy that we actually breathe? Just to put a couple little things out there. But I don't want to deviate axis because you brought in a really beautiful topic, by the way, about how to summon a demon.
Dom, I just, I'm trying to just, I guess, trying to get the understanding out there that if I was misperceived as being someone that was a positive and a happy character because of your suffering or your joys, you're wrong. I'm not interested. Not when it comes to this. You know, uh, this could be my last broadcast. You never know. And I'd hate to think that I went out and the only thing I have to remember from my last broadcast is somebody's childhood story that I wasn't even associated with. So I would rather be that monster, and that's what they'll call me, that is teaching people how to do uh, things that they always questioned and wanted to know. Well, what does Satanists do? You know, well, we gather in masses, we gather at the temples. And when I was into Satanism, yeah, we had a Sabbath. When I was into Satan, yeah, we had ritual rites, and we ran it just like a business in a church. It's just that we didn't stick to certain dogmas that a regular Christian church would. That's why I prefer Hinduism. It's a philosophy more than it is a religion. But I don't, is it supposed to be you know, that I got to hear the anger and the disappointment and the frustration that people have with their indifference of being able to handle information. That's what I'm going to give out. That's what I give out. As if you've noticed on panels, I give information, and I usually cut my way and go. And that's what I'd hoped. Even we spoke on this at a while back. Forward, we demon summoning is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to information and what's capable of being done by an individual who endeavors into working with energy and is aware that they are not the be all end all of the universe. That seems like something of value to me. And when we have these discussions, I see things in the comment. People obviously, when we speak, we must speak kind of sideways because people along the way seem to get something out of us talking to each other a bit. Because there's a lot of positive response, especially where we're concerned, and that's just from observation. But what set me off, to be truly honest about it, is I was on a panel and somebody was restreaming the panel that I was on and was ridiculing and trying to demean my character by restreaming this panel that I was on and a panel that I was on previous. And I let the platform operator know that this other person was, using his channel to antagonize and belittle his guest. And it was brushed off as if it wasn't a concern. And to me, that was very indignant and showed such a lack of responsibility. Because if somebody was restreaming my content here and making fun of you and me because of our conversation or the nature of our conversation, I would react on that. One, because it's my platform. Don't turn it into a joke. And secondly is you're a guest here, which means that I'm going to cater to you before I'm going to cater to me so that I'm a decent host. And I will protect that and your integrity. But I was left out in the cold with that one.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm probably even fortunate. I don't have my own panel, or my own channel, but at the same time, I know I've been, I guess they call it restreaming or whatever. But then for me, that's what it comes with. I guess for somebody, it would be if you went to somebody's party, would they have to give you the heads up that they're recording everything at that party? You would hope so. But I guess when I'm hearing you say it's you addressed the person that actually was doing the channel. And I get that is the mode for a lot of people. They like to restream. Probably tells me a little bit about them. They probably don't have enough contents, but but isn't that why they have it? I don't know how Streamline if it works as copyrights or whatever, but
Well, it's to do unto others as you would do on to yourself. And if I found out, or if I knew that somebody was restreaming what we're doing right here and using it to belittle, demean, or decharacterize, you as a guest, I'm going to react to that. I'm going to make a definite, whether it's that was a stupid low ass move, taking my guest and restreaming them and belittling them while they were on my channel. Not only did you show disrespect to me, and not only did you show disrespect to my guest, but you showed me that you were another one of those bottom feeding, belly rubbing pieces of shit that just doesn't know how to stop. So, you know, the person that owned the platform didn't do anything. As a matter of fact, it became a big joke, and I took action.
Again, actually, this is one of those things, you hear these terms because I've become a little bit of a computer terminology savvy now where bit or non-bit, but that tells a lot about that individual. It's like when somebody says, Dom, I was just joking. I said, really? So which one is really you now? The one that you were being sarcastic or the one that you're pretending to apologize? Which one is you? And it tells a lot about the people that say that, and probably should tell a lot about the kind of people that watch it. Even though I've done it myself, I've watched it, and I'm kind of like, okay, Dom, when is it going to be enough? Because you're not really getting anything that's really of serve here, outside of entertaining myself. It's usually boredom for me. So
Well, if you want reason, and I will give anyone that's watching or that watches in the future or that's watching now a reason for the cause is I'm trying to introduce something called proper conduct, demeanor, uh, maybe a sense of self worth when you're flaunting yourself in front of the world, and even when you have to uh, bust out with a little bit of emotion or call someone out for being an indignant, you know, that signify yourself, you know. You talk about the truther community and high vibes, but yet, I'm still I'm still just totally confounded at people's demeanor and behavior.
or maybe we're the rarity on the group access. I might not even be able to include myself in it. Where maybe this is, it's like when people talk about wars, and there's a lot of money to be had in war. So this is this another pulse on humanity. The way most people react, whether on the chat or on the panels, could it be an indication where we're at? It goes back to when I think we talked about transhumanism kind of ideal. Maybe we've made ourselves expendable at this point, or at least majority of us, you know. And until we see that shift, to what you're saying about whether it's morale or just how we treat each other, how we treat each other should give us an indication where we're at. Now, somebody could turn and say, but that's not how I usually am on a regular basis. Okay, so how are you really on a regular basis? Are you indifferent to people? If people are being honest, that's probably a better statement. Do you go up to total strangers and call them an idiot? Do you go up to total strangers and say, hey, how's it going? Or do you just figure, has nothing to do with me? Okay, so what do you do when there's nothing to do with you? You keep your mouth shut. Do you go out, quickly get a piece of paper and type it out or write it and give them this obnoxious letter, let alone a compliment? Probably not. So it has a lot to do with the people in the chat. So it's as much as you want to have a beautiful channel, or not a beautiful channel, but a channel that's orchestrated and all that, it's the energies that are out there. So that's why I say, and it's better than few in numbers, because this way, if the energies truly are aligned, you can work with it. Even if they're misaligned, at least you know there's few out there. It's usually when people try to hide in a group of 20 or 30 or 40 people, dare not go to those channels where there's thousands of people. And then you start watching the chat. I'm like, you guys really don't want to be heard. You just want to say things and hide. It's like if somebody says something rude, explain yourself. No different if somebody wants to say something positive, explain yourself.
Right,
Why?
and
Go ahead.
that's all I wanted to do was to let you know that this is not in vain. There is an etiquette, and I'm trying to verbalize some of this etiquette by pointing out some of the less than acceptable behavior. So don't feel that this conversation that we're having right here doesn't have some type of quality to it, because I'm trying to explain to these people, whether they get it or not, this is a proper way to conduct yourself, and this is probably a lot less than productive, And I've been guilty. I'm not no old pro at streaming at all, but unless you piss me off, I tried to retain some composure and some sense of dignity. So I just wanted to let you know that was my intent here.
Again, if it's conducive, people that argue with each other, as long as they argue with each other somewhat fairly. My question is, why are you doing it publicly? You know what I mean? Like, are you looking for an audience? Are you looking for somebody to take your side? If that was the case, then everybody should be in the ring when two boxers are fighting then. Everybody else
Mm,
outside the ring are either betting on it or being entertained by it. And you might have a couple of loved ones. "Oh, I hope my husband doesn't get hurt or my wife gets hurt." Outside of that, there's usually three people in that ring. The two fighters and hopefully a referee. Unless you want to make it an old battle fight, like no, just put two guys in there. Don't worry about a referee. You'll know who settles it. So, but again, it's maybe because this is new. When I say new, in the last 5 or 10 years, with these live things or whatever, obviously when they do podcasts, when they do interviews, it's more structured. You're not going to allow everybody in the crowd just to ramble on and just verbal whatever comes into their thoughts. They want to say it out loud. But hey,
and
for some
that's
people
what.
that do, sure, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing. Yeah, it seems to be what the approaching energy was, and I'm nipping it in the bud before it even goes there.
Mhm. For some people, it's the
Because
filling a void. Access for my apology. Go ahead.
I'd rather get back to a topic, our
Okay.
topic, because apparently we went so far into the realm of etiquette and observation of other people. Even the chat has stopped moving.
It's okay with
And
the
that's
chat.
that's a shame. You know, that's what got me here in the first place, was my inability to, just what we prepare a half hour before, we took this endeavor on, and I just wasn't on top of everything, and
But actually, it still does. This does tie up still, because a lack of a discipline in how one talks or receives information will play havoc if they're going to be summing up something like a demon.
yes, yeah, you're right. I mean, to have demon etiquette, we'll call it demon etiquette. You know, when you're dealing with an demon energy, uh, um, whatever that is indifferent to you as a species or you as a living uh, observer, your etiquette and your disposition is going to play a part in how that unseen realm is going to work with you. And even though I attribute personalities because I've seen some of what I've manifested display very, very heavy personal traits, you know. Um, and I know some of the experiences that I had to go through playing with those types of energies, and I know that I had to find me. I had to give up a lot of perspective that was um, center based, and it's almost like giving yourself over to the whims and the wills of nature because that is how it operates. And if you can't ride that type of energy, then it's probably going to consume you because of you. You know, are you so self confident that you've led a life that would keep you out of harm's way when dealing with certain energies? You know, I don't deny, you know, when I say that I do both good and evil, and I can transcend from either point of the scalable um, movement of good and bad, or you know, good and evil. You know, it's all just relevant to the point of what I need at that moment and how I'm going to utilize it. But it's reading me as much as I'm reading it. You know, it's just how well you're going to be able to deal with yourself as a reflection of how that energy that you're summoning is going to deal with you. Your your counterpart does Reiki. What if what if you understand what you know of Reiki and what I understand of it? You got some guy claims he's capable of doing Reiki, and just because he knows a little bit about energy, you know, he's been able to manipulate his way through. But at his being and through his experiences, he's been a self-destructive and a source of nasty vibration that's off kilter. And just because he knows the motions, he grabs hold of you and starts removing all this energy and moving energy around and shifting your energies. Well, that Reiki master is going to also put their energy into you unless they know how to keep their energy to themselves, which is another trait and step that I don't think people realize, that when you're dealing with energies on a personal level, you're going to want to put some of your own energy in it so that you're familiar with it and you can embrace it and encompass it, you know, envelop the whole of it. But if it's not something that you want to drag into your life as a full time presence, then you've got to learn to pull your own energy and put it in neutral place within yourself. So it's that way when you are working with outside energies or demons or angels, that their energy is not going to be, conflicting. So, and I'm sure that from Reiki masters that they pull their energy into themselves and they use an energy that they pull out of, we'll call it the ether, and they'll amplify that energy and they'll help align different energies within the human body and align blood flow, you know, uh, breathing, even pain. These things can be dealt with, and through certain techniques. And that's not medical advice. That's just uh, recreational, working with energy. But the minute a Reiki master puts their energy into their hands and touches you, that's a transference. And you must approach anything that you summons with that same ideal. You've got to reserve your energy inside of you, lest you be bound and tangled with whatever you summon, good or bad.
I guess access even with Reiki, like anything, once you expend energy, you have to replenish it somehow. And the ones that understand, either you have an abundance of energy prior to giving some of that energy in like a form of Reiki. You know, for some people, if not a lot of people, they drain themselves both on doing Reiki, let alone even on a physical level when people go to work. When people become aware of that type of energy, then they can better understand it and appreciate it. Not saying I do that. I usually misharm my body, but I'm still aware of it.
Yeah, and I wasn't talking about anybody you were directly associated
Mhm.
with. I was just making the observation that people don't people people wear their energy like a bad perfume and they leave it everywhere.
Mhm.
And if they're capable of interacting with you, or they're going to leave that energy on you. And that what would that be, the same aroma, if they're wearing bad perfume. So it's to one's advantage that they learn to protect their own energy when dealing with energy.
Mhm.
And when they're pushing, whether they're pushing energy inward to keep it reserved and protected, and they're using energies from environmental stimulus, um, pulling it out of the ether, or whether they're wielding the energy themselves, there has to be a lack of self and indifference for that to be able to work without it becoming almost as personal as sex.
Mhm. Well, especially when you realize some people, they're the one that, when you hear people about, I'm going to send this person energy or Reiki in this case, which is energy, but not realizing the person that you're trying to, let's say, assist or whatever, they're harming themselves. It's like that person can never get enough. And it'll be very draining because not their energy is draining you. Something else is trying to say you're expending energy in a direction that's not your role. So I get it. Sometimes you help people when they need to be helped. Maybe get them back up and, kind of like teach them how to fish, opposed to do the fishing for them. But you get some people because it becomes the cliche words. Oh, I know how to do Reiki and I know how to do all the signs. I'm like, Yeah, but how do you not know? Especially you have to get consent from the other person. Because if you can send Reiki to somebody without them unaware, then you can send them a negative energy or some destructive energy.
Yes.
You know, and especially if that person is putting himself in harm's way, the environment that they live in, where they will work. For some people, it's just the way they talk. They could be their own harm, but yet, hey, no, I want to go get a tune-up. I say, yeah, but you're running the car really hard. So there still has to be that responsibility of that person or that self, whatever they want to use, that individual, that essence of them. You know, again, it goes back to learning a craft of like summon demons. A person really has to understand the self, its capability. I gladly watch the Olympics and say, oh, just because I got to see it, I want to do all those events at that level. It's, there's a good chance I might not even be good at any of them. And that's me being honest with myself. Where other people, maybe because I'm older, or maybe that's just my demeanor. Where other people, no, Dom, I'll be different. Okay, can I observe? Be entertained a little bit. They might surprise themselves and surprise me, but doesn't explain for everybody else. Just because Dom said to him, I said, maybe you might not have that gift, doesn't mean the next person can't. So it's a craft. Everything's a craft in my interpretation of wording. So Reiki, same with working with essential oils. You were talking about demons. How to understand astrology. That's its own craft.
And it is, Dom, and it's an exchange of energy between, whether it be another human or localized environment or another entity or energy, or that's why I emphasized about if you was to summon an angel. Let's say you in your heart you wanted to summon this angel for what you felt to be a good purpose, and then the energy of this angel manifests, and you got some nasty little darkness secrets that you haven't dealt with and embraced and gotten past, and it's this angel's obligation to slaughter iniquity, then you've made your last summons. People put a happy face to angels and angelic beings. I see angels and angelic beings having a purpose just like a demon. It fulfills or it fills a void that is a part of the inner workings of the creation, the grand creation. And it will work off of the same principles as anything else would. You put a mouse in with a snake, snake's going to eat the mouse. You put an archangel in with a human, probably going to wind up dead, you know, because that angel isn't one. It's not got the intent to judge and make a determination as to your character. It's only going to recognize the iniquity and that it must be eliminated because that's what its purpose is. And I'm talking angels. That's why when dealing with demons, for me, it's easier because I know I'm dark and I know the extent of which I've gone and will go into that darkness. So there I feel a lot more comfortable working with energies. Lest I stand in front of an angel and there's a part of my darkness that I haven't embraced yet and come to understand about me that it recognizes, and then suddenly I'm God's enemy. and this angel must eliminate me because of my iniquity, when I was summoning for a good purpose. I withdraw, Dom. That was got any thoughts on that?
Sorry, Access. I was hearing you. I was a little bit further away. Oh yeah. Um, the way you explained the angels, I kind of enjoy the way you said that. Actually, this is why when I think of people that do certain things, like whether it's hemp or ayahuasca, they don't realize what energies that they're probably attracting. You know, I think sometimes people don't realize to get an angel's attention, whether you are trying to summon it or not, their role is to do the way you put it. You know, there's almost like a removal. You're better off working with a demon first. So, you know, because they are here to help with that type of energy, whether we call it dark or not.
Self-serving.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And that's the whole funny thing is if you already know you're self absorbed, then you know what type of entity to call up if you learn the craft.
Well, I know for myself that I can look around and see the creation, and I know that in the grand scheme of things, I can't comprehend how this was created or by what it was created. So therefore, I stay in familiar territory. Though I push the edges and test the boundaries, there are certain things that I do not, I won't endeavor on, just because if I can't comprehend and interpret how, what, or why, and I'm left in the dark and without knowledge of it, then it's probably going to require a lot more observation and studying from me before I'll interact with it. But uh, the primal nature of a human, and especially one that's come to understand that they got to come to terms with that evil within, and they're going to have to somehow deal with it, balance it out, or relinquish it. Because how do you expect to we'll use a Christian aspect, walk through the gates of heaven and not be killed carrying that kind of shit around with you concealed? Hidden intent, you know, dirty little secrets. Oh, yeah, they can see it all. They can sense it all, and that's both spectrums.
Access. I just left you a message in a private. I'm taking off. I'll come back if you're still around. Okay. Sorry for cutting it short.
That's all right, Dom. I'll go ahead and shut it down. This has been a rough one. Um, I appreciate you being here. Anybody that was in the panel that didn't get up here, I apologize. I wasn't able to keep up on everything. This is generally my night, but under circumstances, I'm still up. Dom, thank you so much for being there, for participating in the panel with me. And yes, I will be doing more. I will be doing more instructional videos on metaphysics, but there are things that needed to be addressed at first, and I didn't want them addressed in a harmful or a contemptuous way, but as the whims and the wills of the universe. You know, you don't always get what you want. But I do appreciate everyone in the chat. I do appreciate everybody that's listened. Alchemos, thank you 100%. Jeebus, Don, everybody that showed up, thank you. Thank you so much. And, you know, hopefully this isn't as much rambling and self-destructive inward communication than what it feels like. But you never know till it's over. Somewhere in time, good to see you. Good for you to, yeah. Yeah, I wish it could have lasted longer. I do enjoy having Dom as a guest. Um, he pushes me to endeavor into deeper thinking and to broaden my horizons in thinking. And I appreciate that because, you know, he pushes me to understand me a little better and at least take the time to do it. But later on tonight, I may go live. I'm not sure, but if I do, I would love to see you guys back here. And may there be peace and fortune come to all you and everyone who's going to hear this in the future. Thank you all for being a part of this. You're much appreciated. And Axis is out.